Hi, Wiggles. You want to come say hi? You want to come say hi? Good afternoon. I got some royalty-free yoga music, and I have no idea what's gonna play on the playlist, but so far it's pretty good. So hopefully it continues to be pretty good. Let me know how the volume is, if it's too loud or not loud enough, or if I'm too loud or not loud enough. Cool. I'm just gonna chat for a minute while people sign on. And I've been doing a lot of gentle yoga, paddler specific yoga, and I wanted to do something different today, a little more of a energetic yoga session. And so if you are in, today's a rainy day, so I couldn't be outside, so I might not be sweating as much, but definitely this is the type of yoga that's going to get your, hi Veronica, that's going to get your body temperature elevated, and we're going to be moving a lot, breathing a lot, and the only props you're going to need besides your yoga mat is if you are someone that you know has trouble with wrist flexion in like a push-up position, we will be going through some, type push-up type positions. So I have modifications for that, but if you had a couple of dumbbells that you wanted to hold on to, that's how you do push-ups, you might want to grab those for this yoga session. Otherwise, we can just do it on your fists instead of on your palms. So that's the only props I think that we will need, and just follow along the best you can. I'm not going to move fast, but we are going to be flowing some, so if you need to rest. If you want to throw in more work, and I can't see what everyone is doing, so I can't tell you if you need to modify, if you need to shift, if you need to adjust. I'm just going to cue as much as I can how to adjust yourself and what modifications you can do if they're available. And I'm going to do my best to keep my eye on the comments as well if questions do come in. And if not, I'll just answer them after. So yeah, follow along the best you can, do the best you can, and let's get started in a standing position. And we're going to start in mountain pose. And mountain pose, you're going to have your feet hip width apart. So right underneath your hips, that's where your feet are going to go. And I know you can't see my feet, but that's okay. I can't see yours either. So you're going to press down into the big toe ball mound, and then you're going to press down into the outside edge of your heel. So I'm starting down at the feet and pressing down into the big toe ball mound and the outside edge of your heel. You should feel some activation in the arches and the arches of the feet lifting up. So we're going to keep, as much as we can, trying to remember to keep that lifted arch. Additionally, I want you to take your hips and internally rotate slightly. This is not like a huge internal rotation, but a slight internal rotation from the hips. Okay? And at the same time, this is going to get weird, at the same time I want you to apply outward pressure from the hips and knees. So we slightly internally rotated, but we're still pressing the hips and knees out. So do you feel how grounded and how strong you are in the base right now, with the energy lifting up from the feet, really secure? And if when you did that, if when you pressed down into your feet like I asked, and when you internally rotated and then pressed out, if you got any sort of arch in your back, go ahead and take that tailbone and tuck it back down towards the ground. And also, additionally, if your rib cage flared up or out, go ahead and take the rib cage and bring it back so your spine is still straight up. I want the shoulders right over top of the hips, and the back of the neck reaching long. So some of you are like, oh my gosh, I'm sweating already, right? This is a lot of work. So we're going to keep that nice foundation, that nice base from the legs moving up. We're going to take the back of the neck and we're going to pull it up to the sky. So now we're pulling the spine long, right? And then we're going to take the shoulders and roll them up, back, and down, and then externally rotate. So I'm exaggerating the external rotation here, but I want you guys to just see an external rotation means the thumbs go from touching your inside of your legs to facing away from the inside of your legs. So shoulders, let's roll them back and down, and then let's externally rotate them so the chest is broad. And then let's breathe big. Let's breathe big into the rib cage. And as we breathe, let's get taller and longer with each inhale. So the back of the neck is pulling up. The feet are grounding. The energy is moving up from the feet up through the body. And now as we're breathing, we're lengthening through the spine and we're growing taller. And now as we're breathing, I want you to think about not only growing taller, but expanding out wider through the rib cage, out wider through the chest, and out wider through the back of the rib cage and the back of the shoulders. So let's just take a few more really expansive breaths in this position. In and out through the nose. Good. We're going to inhale and sweep the arms up overhead. And keep your arms up overhead. I'm just going to lower mine down. So you're going to take your hands and interlace your fingers, and then you're going to spin your palms away from you so the inside of the hands are reaching up towards the sky. And reach up and grow taller again. And then check in with your base of your feet. Big toe ball mound, outside edge of the feet. Internal rotation, but outwardly pressing. And then check in with your shoulders, down and back and wide apart. And then check in with the back of the neck and grow really, really tall. And inhale, reach up and feel the sides of the body get longer. Good, so you're going to make gentle fists with your hands, and we're going to just roll our wrists in circles as we're lowering our arms down. I want you to make big wrist circles. And then we're going to sweep the arms up, and then you're going to lower the wrists down, but you're going to circle them now in the opposite direction that you just circled them. So we're just warming up our wrists, feeling a little stretching in the forearms. Let's do that a couple more times. Reach up tall, and then change the direction of the circles, rolling your wrists in circles all the way down. Inhale to reach up. And once more, let's roll the wrists in the opposite direction. Nice, deep breaths. Good. So we're going to be doing some flowing, some what would be called typically vinyasa in yoga. But I want to show you guys a couple of cues in terms of body mechanics so that you can do this safely and correctly. And so I'm turning sideways so that you can see here, feet are hip width apart. We're going to be forward folding, but we're going to swan dive, and we're going to lead from, instead of just hinging and folding forward from the waist, I want you to think about swan dive and send the hips back to lower down. So it takes a slight bend into the knees, and the hips pull back, and this is essentially you come into a flat back like you're in your straight leg deadlift position, right? And so with the flat back, let's go ahead and reverse that swan dive, and we're going to come all the way back up. So do that with me a couple of times. As you're swan diving, as you're bringing the arms wide with a flat back and a tight core, you're folding forward, and the hips are almost leading the way by pulling back. And the further back you pull the hips, the further you lower down. It's okay if you don't touch the ground. Let's go ahead and reverse that swan dive and press into the heels and use the glutes to lift you back up. Good, go ahead and swan dive, forward fold, hips go back, slight bend in the knees, and let's go ahead and hang here in our forward fold. Once you're all the way down, go ahead and let that go. Go ahead and keep a slight bend in your knees and keep the hips now, instead of pulling back, think about the hips pulling up towards the sky. And let's let the shoulders go, and let's let the head go. And let's take a deep breath here. So we're going to come halfway up into a flat back, pressing the hands against the shins, pressing the hips back, pressing the back of the neck long, thinking about getting lengthening from the back of the neck, the top of the head, out through the hips, flat back, reverse your swan dive, come all the way up. Good. So now we're going to swan dive, come all the way down, and this time I want you to walk out into a plank position. So you can go ahead and hold plank if you like. Otherwise, you can drop your knees down. I'm going to walk you through a couple of variations here. So option one, if you cannot do a full push-up, is to lower your knees and then lower your chest down. Notice my butt is still up in the air. And then you're going to pull your chest forward and up as the hips lower down, coming into your upward facing dog. Shoulders stay down away from the ears and the back stays long. And then you're going to pull the hips back and up into a downward facing dog. So that's option one. Option two is from your plank pose. You're going to lower, if you can do a nice pretty flat back push up, halfway down. And then you're going to pull the chest forward and up into your upward facing dog. The chest is nice and broad, the shoulders are back. And then you're going to pull the hips back and up into your downward facing dog. So that's a traditional vinyasa. Option three, if you're feeling super strong today, is to, from your plank position, do your super vinyasa. If you've trained with me on Paddle Monster, you know these ones. You're going to come halfway down. You're going to inhale to come up to your upward dog. You're going to exhale to come back to the bottom of your push-up. You're going to inhale back up to your plank, and then the hips pull back and up to your downward facing dog. So those are the three options for your vinyasas today, and we're going to go ahead and go through three of those now. So choose your own adventure. Let's go ahead and inhale forward to your plank. Exhale, lower down. Inhale, chest forward and up. Exhale, either down to downward dog or back through your plank, and then to downward facing dog. So again, let's inhale forward. You can drop to your knees and lower knees, chest, chin, or you can lower through your chaturanga, your upward facing dog. You can press back to downward facing dog or to the bottom of the push-up. Inhale, up, exhale, back. Good. Was that three? I can't remember. Let's do one more. Inhale forward, exhale down. Inhale. Keep the chest broad, keep the shoulders pulling back. Oh, I did a regular vinyasa. Good. Take a deep breath in your downward facing dog. So downward facing dog can be a resting pose, or if it's not a resting pose, you can always drop your knees and you can always come into your child's pose. Good. So let's go ahead and walk the feet back into a forward fold, a nice hips under, feet under your hips, a slight bend in the knees. Let's come to a flat back, halfway up. Inhale, exhale, fold, and then let's come through a flat back, reverse our swan dive, press into the heels, lift all the way up. Exhale, bring your hands down. Good. Okay, so now we're going to do a different variation. I want you to bring your big toes together now. So the feet were hip distance apart. Now the big toes are touching. And the heels can be touching or they can be slightly separated, whatever feels comfortable for you. Again, big toe ball mound presses down. Outside edge of the heel presses down. The arches lift. The legs, the hips slightly internally rotate and then press out. And we're going to come into a chair pose. So you're going to send the hips back and down, and you're going to send the arms up. So the back stays flat, the spine stays neutral here, the hips are pulling back and lowering down, the arms are reaching up, the shoulders are wide, the chest is lifted and the gaze is forward. Nice deep breath, pulling back and lowering down as much as you can. And let's go ahead and press into the heels and use the glutes to stand up tall. Good, and then let's come back down into our chair pose. We're going to hips go back and down, arms reach up. Good. Deep breath here. Exhale, release. Go ahead and lift your left leg and step it all the way back into a crescent lunge. Ooh, a little surprise for you. So my back toes, my back heel is lifted. I'm on my back toes. And this front leg didn't move at all. The arms reach up, and let's get tall, and let's breathe big and expansive into the torso, into the rib cage. Maybe drop down just a little bit on your exhale, letting the hips lower down. And then we're going to take this front leg, and we're going to pull it back. And we're going to take the back leg, and we're going to pull it forward. And we're scissoring the legs towards one another. And you should feel that really strong foundation, that really firm base. Good. We're going to reach the arms forward, out over the front leg, until we can lift the back toes up and step back into our chair pose. Good. And press up to rise. Good. Let's come back down into our chair pose, hips back and down. Big toes are touching. Good. As soon as we can't go any further down, lift the right leg up and step it back. So this front knee should stay more or less in that same position the whole time. Let's take a deep breath into the rib cage. Let's grow tall. Let's exhale. Drop down just a little bit. And at the same time, pull the legs together. Front leg pulling back, back leg pulling forward. Lots of energy from the legs coming up through the body. Deep breath in, exhale, release. We're going to reach forward. So our body's in that chair position. And that back leg is just going to float up to touch the front. And then we're going to press up to rise. Good. Let's go back down into our chair. Left leg steps back into our crescent lunge. The back heel is lifted. We're on our toes. We're getting tall. Good. We're squeezing the legs together. And we're breathing. And then let's go ahead and reach the chest forward over that front leg. This time we're not going to step back yet. We're going to float the back toes up into a warrior three. Keep a slight bend in that front leg. Arms can be out overhead, or you can reach them out to the sides like an airplane, or you can bring them into your chest. And you're going to press through that back heel and shoot it out as far back behind you as you can. Bringing your chest, if you can, parallel and in line with your back leg. And then step back to your crescent lunge. Deep breath in, out, reaching forward, step back to your chair pose, and press to rise. Good. Deep breath. And then let's go back chair. Same thing on the other side. As soon as you can't go any lower, hips are pulling back and down. That right leg steps back. Crescent lunge. Grow tall. Scissor the legs. Squeeze them together. Expansive breaths into the rib cage, into the torso. We're going to reach forward, and those back toes are going to float up. Keep a slight bend in that standing leg. Take the arm position of choice, overhead, out to the sides, or maybe a prayer. Press through your back heel. Maybe bring the chest a little closer to the ground. Still maintaining a flat back. Good. We're going to float back into your crescent lunge. Inhale to rise. Good. Reach the chest forward. Come into your chair with your left leg and float the right leg. Big toes touch. Press into your heels to rise. Good. You can bring your hands to your heart center or down by your sides. Shake it out. Take a deep breath. Mountain pose. All right, we're going to come through a full sun salutation now, which is nothing we haven't just done in the last 10 minutes. We're just going to flow through all the way to downward facing dog. So feet can be together or hip distance apart, whichever felt more comfortable for you. Inhale to sweep the arms up, growing tall. Deep breath in. We're going to swan dive. Hips go back, flat back, forward fold. Good. We're going to inhale, coming halfway to that flat back. Hips back, top of the head forward. And then you're going to exhale and walk back into your plank position. Good. Inhaling here on your next exhale, your version of vinyasa, or maybe your super vinyasa, or maybe your knees, chest, chin. Throwing in a super. Back to downward facing dog. Good. Resting in downward facing dog or taking a child's pose if you need it. I'm going to adjust my camera because we're going to be a little bit lower down for the rest of the session. Nice deep breaths. Hey, channel. Cool. Okay, so if you're resting, come back to your downward facing dog. And am I in the right position? Good. Sorry, guys. All right. Hands are shoulder width apart. Spread your fingertips out wide and press down into all of your fingertips. And then think about those shoulders. Pulling back, pulling down, pulling wide apart. Take a bend into your knees and send your hips as high up to the sky as you can. Good. And then try and straighten the legs without losing that chest and that spine position. Take the left leg and lift it to the sky. But keep your toes pointing down and keep both hips pointing down towards the ground. So I don't want you to be opening up the hip here. I want the hip pointing down, I want the toes pointing down. Press through the heel. Good. You're going to come forward into a plank pose with that leg lifted, and at the same time bring your knee to your nose. And then press it back up to the sky, three-legged dog. And then come forward, shoulders over wrists, plank pose, knee to nose, rounding your spine, pressing back, three-legged dog, hips lift up. Good. Let's do that one more time. Exhale, knee to nose. Inhale, press back. This time, last time, knee to nose, we're going to hold it here, and you're going to see if you can bring your knee all the way to your forehead. Round your spine and pull your belly in and up. And hold it and take a breath. Good. Press back. Downward facing dog. We're going to come through a vinyasa with that leg lifted. So plank pose, lowering down at the bottom of your upward dog, connecting that foot to the ground and pressing back downward facing dog. You guys, I'm sweating like crazy. Right leg is going to lift. Toes are pointing down. Hips are both pointing towards the ground. Press through the heel. It's okay if it's only this high off the ground. That's okay. Doesn't have to be all the way up here, right? Just as hard as it can go with square hips. Good. We're going to come forward into our plank, knee to nose. Should feel a crunch in your abdominals. Press back, three-legged dog. Exhale, knee to nose. Rounding spine. Inhale, three-legged dog. Exhale, knee to nose. Inhale, press. Lift. Good. This time as we come forward, we're going to hold. Bring our knee all the way to our forehead. Or just imagine you are bringing it to your forehead. Deep breath. A little higher. Good. Pressing back. Coming into your plank, three-legged. Lowering down through your chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. The feet connect. Exhale, downward facing dog. Fun stuff. Again, child's pose is always an option if downward dog is not a resting pose for you. And we are going to lift again that left leg, but this time I do want you to open the hip up. So turn your right foot, the heel is still going to stay pressing back, but that left hip's going to open up. And go ahead and bend the knee. You should feel a really nice stretch across the front of the hip flexor and the psoas here. So let's just bend and straighten that leg a couple times. Good. Go ahead and bring it down. And let's just do the same thing on the right side. Lift and then open the hips. Try and stack the right hip on top of the left. But keep your left heel pressing back and down. Just bend and straighten that right knee a couple times. Breathing. Good. Go ahead and bring it back down. Good. Once more, pressing into your plank pose. Lowering down chaturanga. Inhale, upward dog. Exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, push up. Exhale, downward facing dog. Good. Go ahead and bring your knees down. Press your hips to your heels. Rest in your child's pose. I need a towel. Oh, good boy, Oscar. Oscar says, I will lick all the sweat off your face. So I know you will. Okay. So we're resting and we're breathing in child's pose. Good. Okay, go lay down. Okay, all right. Okay, go.
I was trying to let tail.
All right, so go ahead and come on to your bottom, seated. And we are going to do, with your arms out in front of you, you're going to round the spine, and we're going to lay down on our back one vertebrae at a time. So see if you can tuck the tailbone under and feel those lower vertebrae touching the mat. See if you can pull the rib up, pull the belly button in and up to feel those middle vertebrae touching the mat. Pull the shoulders down and keep the chest open. And then we're going to let one vertebrae at a time all the way down onto our back. With the legs out in front of you and the arms reaching overhead. And reach out long, take a deep breath in, getting tall. And then we're going to roll up. One vertebrae at a time. Keep the shoulders down, keep them relaxed, pulling the upper back off, pulling the belly in and up to get the middle back off, one vertebrae at a time, and scooping the tailbone under to get the lower vertebrae up, one at a time, and we're going to fold all the way forward, but we're going to keep that rounded spine, so you're going to pull the belly back to reach forward. The abdominals and the core are going to reach you forward. I'm not grabbing, I'm using my core to reach, 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 and then I'm going to keep that rounded spine, and I'm going to roll all the way back down, one vertebrae at a time. Lower back, tailbone curling, belly pulling in and up, middle back, upper back, reach tall, deep breath in. Let's do it again. Chin, upper back, middle back, woo, pulling everything back and up, and then folding forward. Reach, reach, reach with your core. Good. And then let's fold one vertebrae at a time all the way down. Okay, this music is not doing it for me. That's okay. It's like not core music at all. All right, so we're on the ground. We're reaching the arms overhead. Now, I want you to take the arms down by the side, and we're going to lift the legs up. Good. So, stay here, or see if you can lift, you can keep your arms down, but I'm just moving mine so you can see. Lift your hips up using your lower abdominals, and then lower your legs all the way back down. Feel how when your legs are up in the ground, your lower back is pressing down into the mat. See if as you lower the legs down really, really slowly, you can feel the lower back, so there's no space underneath the low back. It's pressing down into the mat. Can you keep that low back pressing down all the way to the ground? And then we're going to roll all the way up and forward, reach, exhale. And then we're going to roll all the way back down. Hopefully this music's better. All right, reaching the arms overhead. Inhale, stretch long, and then let's take the legs up. And maybe lift the hips. Good, and then we're going to 1 inch at a time, lower the legs all the way down, trying to keep the low back pressing down into the mat. Breathing. Still lowering. Really, this is like super slow. Good, and then 1 vertebrae at a time, upper body, heels off. Good. Okay, last one. 1 vertebrae at a time, all the way down. Legs lift up. So I want you to stay, if you have any sort of spinal issues or concerns, stay right here just with your feet just up in the air, and you can point and flex your feet, you can make circles, you can do whatever you want. I just want you to stay with your legs up in the air for a few breaths. If you don't have any spine issues and you want to take those hips and lift them up and then keep lifting and pull yourself into a shoulder stand, if you feel comfortable coming up onto your shoulders, you can do that. Super duper core challenge if you don't use your hands. A lot easier if you do use your hands. We're going to slowly roll all the way down. Good. So everyone's now here on their back with their feet up in the sky. Take your arms out to a T from your sides. And we're going to keep both shoulder blades down on the mat. And we're going to lower both legs as far as we can over to the side. And we're going to come back to center. Shoulder blades are going to stay down. I have to adjust my position all the way over to the other side. Shoulder blades stay down. I have to adjust my position some more. Good, and then coming back up to center. So we're just going to go once more to each side, shoulder blades down as far as you can go. Whoop, that's a view of my feet. Back to center. Once more to the other side. Really working to keep the shoulder down. Good. Now we're going to take a bend in the knees, 90 degrees at the hips, 90 degrees at the knees. And if you want, you can even take 90 degrees at the elbows. And we're going to come down into a twist, and we're going to hold it in a twist. So shoulders are pressing down into the mat. If the knees aren't touching or if they're not all the way down, that's okay. If you want to take a hand on top of that top knee and help it down, if that feels good, that's okay. So we're going to breathe into the side of the body. So that top hip is going to be reaching away from that opposite shoulder. And I want you to look over that opposite shoulder. And I want you to take 3 really deep breaths here into the rib cage, expanding the whole torso. Think about those deep, expansive breaths we were taking in our mountain pose. See how that feels to take those breaths when you're twisted. Good. Let's bring the knees to center. And then let's take them over to the other side. Shoulders stay down. And we're going to, if it feels good, place a hand on that top knee. If it doesn't feel good, or if you need a hand between the knees for a little extra support, that's okay. We're going to breathe that shoulder down into the mat. We're going to breathe that hip away from that shoulder, lengthening the whole body. And breathe. We're winding down. We're unwinding. That was pretty fun. One more deep breath, in and out. Good. Bringing the knees back to center. Hug your knees into your chest. If you want to bring your head up to your knees and roll into a ball, you can do that. If you want to just take your knees in circles, side to side, whatever feels good. Massage your low back. This feels really nice. Take your knees in circles. Massage your low back into the mat. And then take your knees wide apart. You can keep your feet down, or you can lift them up to the sky into a version of Happy Baby. If your butt is up in the air, see if you can pull your tailbone back down to the mat. Good. So, we are going to come into Shavasana, final relaxation. You can have your knees bent, or you can lengthen your legs out straight. You want to have your feet, whether they're flat or whether they're out long, have them at least hip width, if not shoulder width apart, and just relax the feet out to the side. Maybe even if your legs are straight, roll your feet side to side, relax your ankles, your knees, your hips. Let that all just go. And then you want to feel your spine long, maybe pull your shoulder blades out from underneath you, and then make sure they're down away from your ears, and take your palms face up and gently curl your fingertips up so your hands are relaxed, your wrists are relaxed, your forearms are relaxed. And then take your head, slowly move your head from side to side, slowly looking over one shoulder and then the other. And then stopping right in the center. Close your eyes. Let's take a really deep breath in. And then see how long you can make your exhale last. The slowest, longest, deepest exhale you've taken all day. Like you're exhaling through a teeny straw. Let's do that again. Deep, expansive inhale, and then the longest exhale, like you're hissing out through a teeny little straw. And then I want you to just feel every muscle and every joint and every bone in your body. Just let go and just be supported on your mat right here. Relax your face, your eyes, your cheeks, your lips, your jaw, and your neck. We're going to stay here for about 10 deep breaths in total relaxation. This pose is called Shavasana. Slowly lengthen and deepen your breath. And wiggle your fingers and toes. Maybe reach your arms overhead. Stretch your legs out long. Stretch your whole body. And when you're ready, roll onto your side. Give yourself a hug. Curl your knees up to a fetal position and thank yourself for taking the time for yourself today. We're going to use use our arms to push up into a seated position. Thank you all so much for joining. Yes, Shannon, I'm going to be doing this every Saturday at 3 p.m. And that's the schedule. And otherwise, I will be announcing if there's... So I'm doing Mondays as more of like a workout, educational live at 3 p.m. But Saturdays, I'm going to try and always do yoga. And, 30 minutes or so. And I will be doing other ones, but, those will be, those two, Monday and Saturday at 3 are the two ones that are on the schedule for Paddle Monster, and you can follow along on my page and on Instagram. I'll announce when and if I have other guest appearances or lives. This Thursday, I'm going to be doing a Slackline live class, so yeah, just depends. Thanks, that's a good question. Anybody else have questions before I sign off? Yeah, thanks, John. I think that's John. It's either John or Larry. Okay, have a wonderful rest of your afternoon. Thank you so much.